And I said, take yourself back to October, okay?
Wow.
Your basketball coach was under investigation for Title IX. You had no idea how good the team was going to be. They weren't ranked in the top 20. Your football team was not going anywhere. It looked like the coach was going to get fired. And then all of a sudden, everything turned really nice.
Like somebody hit a switch, Pat, really. When the football season started to turn, I think we all started to kind of look through some different lenses a little bit. And basketball wise, like you said, they kind of get the season started, right? And they're ranked 21 in the country. And I don't buy into any of those rankings for at least 2 months, right? And boy, the next thing you know, football wins out, and you're heading into the Christmas holidays with a winning streak in football, a 13-game winning streak with men's basketball, and you're creeping up the rankings, and man, the whole mood changed.
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another edition of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. I am here at the Ponderosa. We're going to have Matt McCall on. Matt McCall had to pull out. He got sent somewhere to do a game. And I called a couple other people. They couldn't do it. But you know what? Who could do it? Sean Kelley, who is great to have on anyway. And I love talking to him. We have great conversations. So he is going to join us today. Still not sure about next Thursday, whether it's going to be Pat Bradley or Matt McCall. We'll get everything all straightened out. But it was a kind of a hectic day yesterday trying to find somebody because you want to make sure it stays relevant, and of course, Sean does all the games. He's as relevant as anybody could be. So let's get to our Royal Blue starting five. It is brought to you by Royal Blue. They do a great job over there in Placa. Appreciate Randy Royal for being a part of our show. All right, Royal Blue starting five. Let's get to number one, which was Florida on Tuesday night, handling Oklahoma, of course. Look, and I do think we talk about this sometimes. I have this kind of weird doomsday is coming. It's almost South Carolina-ish. And if you talk to people in South Carolina who spend any time there, they say that's part of the problem is they're waiting for the shoe to fall all the time. And I think I have a little bit of that because I went through the shoe falling all the time. And, my childhood, the Gators, Spurrier got beat by Georgia, didn't win, the year he won the Heisman, the next week he lost to Miami. You win the SEC, you get put on, but you're on probation, you can't celebrate. You don't go to a bowl game. Even the 90 team, that team was so great, didn't go to a bowl game. So anyway, all that was built up. Spurrier changed it all, okay? But he didn't change it all for me. Billy Donovan changed a lot of things too. Urban changed a lot of things. It didn't change it all for me. I still had this anxiety. So anyway, that's a long way of telling you that I went into this game a little bit nervous because Oklahoma really, really needed to win this game. But just because you need it doesn't mean you get it. That's what I tell my daughter all the time. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's coming to you. You've got to work for it, and Florida worked for it instead. Good win, certainly, for Florida. Where they are in the net rankings and everything, it's kind of crazy to think of this team. They had 12 threes in this game, and then 5 straight wins now for Florida. And, of course, got LSU coming up. We'll talk about them in just a minute. But at 23-3, you're tied now for second place in the best league in the history of sports. Now, that's not me saying that. I don't agree. I think people are going kind of out of their body to talk about this. Or what did he say in Moneyball? You must be outside your mind. That's what Art House said to Billy Beane. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I am. But anyway, let's go ahead and move along to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting five. And that is the conversation that we have. And this is where I get kind of weirded out. Conversation we had with two of our callers yesterday on the tailgate. One of them called in and said he thinks this team beats the 04s. So that would be the 06 and 07 teams that won national championships. And that he'd rather have Todd Golden coaching than Billy Donovan. And, okay, that's going way too far, okay? Todd Golden's won 0.0, NCAA tournament games at Florida. He's going to be fine. I love Todd. I think he's doing a great job. There's no doubt about it. But come on, man. Billy Donovan went to 4 Final Fours. He won 2 of them. He went to the national championship game in another one. So that's just a superfluous argument, in my opinion. And then there was the argument that what was the other argument we had yesterday? That this team has more depth than the 2000 team. That's what it was. And I've heard that before from people. No, that's incorrect. The 2000 team is the deepest team Florida's ever had in its history. They had 10 guys that could play that were legitimate players. They were bringing Matt Bonner off the bench. They were bringing Donnell Harvey off the bench, Major Parker off the bench, Brett Nelson off the bench. That team was loaded, and that's why they played for a national title. And again, and that goes back to what we've talked about before about the tournament and how crazy it is. Mike Miller doesn't make that shot, they don't go anywhere. They go home from Winston-Salem, and I go home from Winston-Salem. Instead, had this unbelievable run. They go win the next game, beat Illinois, Lon Kruger, and then we head to Syracuse. Had a blast there. They beat number 1 Duke, beat Oklahoma State with Doug Gottlieb, and then they get to the finals, and they've got Carolina, which was with Bill Guthridge, which was not as good as Florida, to be honest with you. Florida beat them handily, and then, of course, they lost to Michigan State. Anyway, I love reliving these, but the point is, this is a great team. I love this team. This may be one of my most favorite teams to watch, if not the most favorite. But so far, they haven't done anything. You got to win in the postseason. It's just the way the world is built. And I apologize for that. If this team goes 28-3 or whatever, how many games they have left now? They have 5 left, so they could go 28-3, yeah. And then wins the SEC tournament? Or let's say loses in the final round of the SEC, final game of the SEC tournament, and then goes 2-out in the NCAA tournament. How are you going to look at them? You look at them differently. You look at them as, that was a fun team, but there's always going to be a but in there. So anyway, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. I'm just setting up. All right, let's get to number 3, which is the fact that Florida plays LSU. That is a Saturday game at 6 o'clock. If it is, we'll get to the Swamp Games of the weekend. We'll tell you what channels it's on. The only reason to be a little worried about LSU is they're 11-4 at home. They're a good home team. Now, a lot of that 11-4 is non-conference games. They had a really good non-conference season. I think they were like 11-2, but they're 3, I think, and 10 in the SEC. I've watched them a little bit. They're 0-5 against ranked teams. They're 11th in the conference in offense, and they're 12th in defense. So, I mean, this is not a very good team. Cam Carter is a really good player. 17.6 points a game. Really good player. And I've watched him play. I've watched them play, but usually I don't stay with it long because they're getting beat. But then they upset Oklahoma. That was a big win for them. So they've won 2 in a row. They've got a little momentum going. They're playing at home. See, look at me. I'm getting all nervous again. I'm like George Steinbrenner's character on Seinfeld. I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. I am getting nervous. I get nervous about every game. Look, first time they make a shot, I get nervous. It's just the way I am. I've got these anxiety issues. I'm going to work on it, okay? All right. Anyway, that is what LSU is. They're not very good. They're next to last in the league. South Carolina's got that wrapped up. But you're on the road. Got to go play. Got to go play good. Play good. That's all you got to do. Play Gator basketball. All right, let's get to number 4. I am trying to get excited about USA versus Canada in the Four Nations Cup or whatever it is. It's tonight. I know those of you who listen to this show on Friday already know the result, but it's tonight. I'm just trying to figure out why I should be real excited. I'll root for the USA against anybody. But it's 8 o'clock, by the way, and I think it's on ESPN. So I'm going to try to watch it because people are acting like this is the biggest thing that ever happened in their lives. It almost feels soccerish, and that there's always something they're playing for. It's a Copa Cup, and now it's the Two Nations Cup, and it's the West Coast of this Nations Cup, and the Gold Cup, and the Orange Cup. Where's the championship? That's all. So is this the championship? Is this a big deal? I mean, if there's only 4 nations in it, how can it be for the world anything? I don't know. I'm just trying to get myself psyched. I'm trying to get myself psyched for it because I want to watch it. There's not much else going on tonight. I'm going to try to watch it. All right. Finally, number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. Disappointing in a little bit that baseball and softball both got rained out yesterday. I think they both could have played, to be honest with you. But it did look like the storm was coming in. And that's a problem. You don't want teams driving all the way over from Tallahassee, or in this case, Gainesville to Jacksonville, and then get there and then turn around and come home. So they tend to be kind of proactive, especially early in the season. Florida did win the baseball game they played on Tuesday against JU. Bats staying hot, but again, it's going to get really interesting in about a week. Let's just put it that way. But we'll talk more about that as we go forward because baseball and softball will dominate. Once we get through the end of March, baseball and softball really dominate what we do here on this show. All right. That is going to do it for our Royal Blue starting 5. We're going to bring Sean Kelley on. We'll do a yes, no way, or maybe with him. And then we'll get to all of our fun stuff, including a new sponsor, not a new sponsor, an old sponsor who's a new sponsor. If you can figure that one out, I'll give you $1. All right, we'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. Cheesesteaks, a Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294. Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. It is a great pleasure to bring in the voice of the Gators, Sean Kelley. Are people calling you voice now? Because I used to call Mick that all the time. Or is that becoming a?
Yeah, that is a thing, and I always try to remind them I'm just the radio guy. That's kind of the way I go about it. But look, Mick made it the title, and people like to say that, so there it is, and I'll be all right.
There you go. Yeah. So I had this talk with the quarterback club recently, and I said, take yourself back to October. Okay.
Wow.
Your basketball coach was under investigation for Title IX. You had no idea how good the team was going to be. They weren't ranked in the top 20. Your football team was not going anywhere. It looked like the coach was going to get fired. And then all of a sudden, everything turned really nice.
You're not kidding. I mean, like somebody hit a switch, Pat, really. When the football season started to turn, I think we all started to kind of look through some different lenses a little bit. And, we were on the brink of what we thought was going to be a pretty good volleyball season. That was the case. I'm just talking about, kind of the Gator vibe all across the board. And basketball-wise, like you said, they kind of get the season started, right? And they're ranked 21 in the country. And I don't buy into any of those rankings for at least 2 months, right? And, boy, the next thing you know, football wins out and they get the bowl game, and it's drivable for Gators fans. So they get a good crowd there. There's just, there's momentum all of a sudden, right? And then, lo and behold, you're heading into the Christmas holidays with a winning streak in football, a 13-game winning streak with men's basketball, and you're creeping up the rankings, and, man, the whole mood changed. I just, those two teams drive the whole conversation all the way until late spring when the only thing left to talk about really is baseball at that point, or in this case, softball too, with the way that Tim Walton's club's going to, I think, end up. So, yeah, I think at one time there, Pat, I had like 17 or 18 straight winning broadcasts between football and men's basketball. So I was on a bit of a heater, as they say.
Yeah, that's good. And take the full credit for it, because believe me, I would.
Look, I am the worst broadcaster in all of sports when the Gators lose, and seemingly I'm the voice of the Gators, and keep it up, Sean, when they win. So I wish I could take credit, but that's what I wear sometimes.
Well, I will say this, because I listen to you guys a lot, and especially when I'm driving around or coming home from a game or from doing the radio show. But I heard you the other day, and you said, I'm going to get fined, but that is the worst call I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, I don't think they can fine you. I don't. Maybe
my other job they can. So when I worked, I guess so with my ESPN stuff, the NBA will fine you. Yeah. If you are overly critical of officials, the league otherwise, especially when you work for a team like I did for so long. They can fine you, and it's more than I'll make. I can guarantee you that. Like if I were to get fined in the NBA, it's a large enough fine to scare the daylights out of you, but a large enough fine to also good luck getting it. One of those deals. Thankfully, the Southeastern Conference does not have near the broadcast setup that the NBA does. So I might get a call from the league office, but there's no fine system structure in place. But and Pat, my whole career, I've tried to be very good about the way I speak of officials, because I know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in Louisiana, a couple of years before I came to Gainesville, I actually officiated high school basketball around my ESPN schedule. A, because I love the game, but 2, I thought it might make me a better broadcaster, and it did. I saw the game differently. I saw it kind of from the way that they see the game as far as the three officiating, the 3-member crew. And
Right.
but this season, I've struggled with holding my tongue when it comes to some of the officiating we've seen.
Yeah, and look, I've been dealing with this for a long time, and in fact, I remember the AJC did a story about 8 or 9 years ago, and they had all the deets on every official and exactly what he called and what kind of games he would call, and I found it fascinating. I will say this: when I see who the 3 officials are, I know what kind of game I'm going to get. This game, you can foul all you want. They're not calling it. This game, if you breathe on a guy, they're going to call it. So you kind of have to, the players and the coaches have to understand that too.
Yes, and look, I think it's kind of like in baseball with balls and strikes and everything else. I like the human element. I like the fact that when I see the game sheet for the day and the officials listed, I kind of get an idea of what the game might be. Players and coaches do it too. I mean, there's a reason why in NBA locker rooms, when you walk into a locker room pregame, there are pictures and names up of the officials for that night's game, because then the coaches and players kind of know what the whistle's going to be like. They don't quite do that in college basketball. I think they probably should. But I like the element of, the officials have different styles. Here's my fear, though, Pat. It's seemingly, though, across the board now in the SEC this season, we've hearkened back to the late 90s, early 2000s NBA type play. It's overly physical now. And in a lot of ways, it's impeding, they call it freedom of movement on the offensive end. I don't mind the kind of the NASCAR rub and paint type stuff, but when you're grabbing guys or knocking them off of a spot, literally, the game is being played differently. And my fear, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The good news is that the players and coaches have figured this out this season, and they've adapted. And now, of course, they're coaching their players to play this style of play. But my fear is here's the greatest conference in the country when it comes to men's college basketball right now, and maybe the greatest conference season we've seen in college basketball history. It's in the conversation.
Sure.
So you might have 12 to 14 teams go to the tournament, and now they're going to see officiating crews from the West Coast Conference or the Big 12 or the Big East, and they're going to get a different whistle, Pat, in the NCAA tournament. And we saw Auburn struggle with that last year in round 1. So I think there's going to be some SEC teams that struggle early on in the NCAA tournament with the officiating, because it's going to be called differently than what they've become accustomed to all season.
And what wars that we see in college basketball. I mean, it's just these teams go to play each other, and you go, "Oh, this is going to be brutal." Bring your popcorn, but bring your tissue too. It's going to be. But that's the thing. I remember Billy Donovan calling me one day. I was at the gym, and the season had just ended, and he wanted to talk about freedom of movement and the lack of it, and it was ruining the game. And that's almost probably 10 years ago.
Well, and college was 10 years
got
behind
out
the
of it, and now it's back. Yeah,
it's back. Yeah, well, it's back in the Southeastern Conference.
Yes,
that's the case.
All the conferences.
Yeah, not all the conferences, but in the SEC, it's certainly that way. There's always been conversations too, Pat, about, and this more so at the NBA level, is it time to increase the floor? I'm not using my terminology correct here. Right now, we're 94 feet by 50, right? And that's basically at all the levels. But in the NBA, the guys are so big, so fast now that there's almost not enough space for them. I think they'd like to widen the floor if they could, but a lot of these arenas now, especially at the college level, are restrictive with regard to the seating or the confines. So it might be hard, and I know this sounds silly, to add 5 feet to the width of the floor. But when it comes to freedom of movement, you're already constricted by the small space with the bigger athlete, the more athletic player in this generation. But the whistle, obviously has to be attended to as well in that sense. I don't want to swing the pendulum all the way back to where if you breathe on a guy, it's a foul, because we saw that and it got a little silly. But an adjustment, at least in this conference, I think has to be made. Or at least just call it the way we did 2-3 years ago. We're not that far off. Right.
Back in those old days, I remember John Carty running out of a pile early in the game, going, "It's going that way." And I would go. I called him the show, because he was going to make one show early in the game, and everybody was going to remember him.
There aren't that many left in the college game. Teddy Valentine's kind of like that. But I mean, you mentioned him, and I can I can think of a dozen NBA guys that, they were a part of the show. And the shtick was a little weird sometimes, but again, it kind of, it caught your eye, right? It was a part of the sizzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. So I'm sure before this season, you said, all right, 23-3, about 26 games in. I think that's right about where Florida will be, and tied for second in the best conference in the land, which is pretty amazing. I can't get over it. There are times when I'm literally sitting here watching them, and somebody will take like a third straight three, and they make it, and I start laughing. It's like, holy cow, what is going on here?
Oh, I said to Lee Humphrey the other night when the Gators beat Oklahoma, I said, you've got 10 wins in the conference right now, and there's still 5 games to play or whatever. Because I said, look, whoever gets to double-digit wins is going to have a high seed in the NCAA tournament. And so you're 10-3, and because Alabama gets just trashed at Missouri last night, the Gators are tied for second right now in the best conference in the country, sitting at that 10-3 mark. And you talk about the threes. Not only are they coming in droves right now, but they're coming from anywhere. I mean, when Walter Clayton touches the ball, this is just a little broadcast, pull back the curtain thing. When Walter Clayton touches the ball, I better be ready to call a 3-point shot because he'll let it rip from the bus. I mean, that's where it's coming from right now. And if you look at the last 5 games, Pat, I have the number here on my screen somewhere. 63 3-pointers knocked down by Florida during this 5-game win streak. That's like 12.7 a game, something around there. That's winning basketball on the offensive end. And the free throw shooting's been better too. They're all still 14th in the league in conference games, but the free throws have been coming, and they're doing this shorthanded. And the hand Lockton story is really cool. It couldn't have come at a better time, obviously. I'm eager to get Condon back on the floor. I think, I'd like to think that maybe sometime next week he's back in, and then you've got a couple of games before this postseason starts to see what the full complement looks like.
You know the NBA very well, obviously, do NBA games, and so you've been around the college game, and you've been around Walter Clayton. Do you think he's a pro? Guys that make those logo threes, it's pretty good.
But at that level, there's a lot of guys that do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Walter's up against a little bit. He's more so now in the NBA conversation than he was 2 months ago. I'll say that. Same goes for Will Richard, too, because both those guys went through the NBA draft combine last year and got evaluated. And they're going to be really frank with you in that situation. And they were with both Walter and Will. To their credit, the two of them took that criticism or feedback and have applied that to their game this year. So Walter is better at handling the ball, not kicking it around so much. I think he's become a better defender, and certainly he can go get his own shot and score. And Will is a true both ends of the floor kind of guy now. So, Pat, I don't know if Walter and Will are draftable at this point. They could be if they have a great spring. How many times have we seen a player have a great spring in the tournament and all of a sudden they're a late first-round guy? That could very well happen. And if the Gators go as deep as I think they might, they'll get a lot of exposure. So they're kind of on the brink between being a free agent / G League type entry into the league this summer, or if they have a spectacular finish here, they could be draftable. And the other one to watch here is Alex Condon, who I think is draftable now. And selfishly, I'd love to see Alex Condon in a Gators uniform for another year. But that might not happen. We'll see how that plays out. But as far as if I'm ranking most NBA ready or most draftable, it's probably Condon number 1, Clayton 2, and then Will Richard 3.
Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And again, you know how it is. You've been around it. No matter how good you do during the regular season, it's all about the tournament. What you do in the tournament is how you're going to be remembered. That's the way people are going to talk about you the rest of your life. Yeah,
it is the marker. It's no different, say in the NFL or Major League, postseason is what kind of defines you, right? And whether the measurables of hits or or wins or touchdowns, or in this case, in basketball with regard to your numbers, will we remember you for what you did in March Madness? Were you a part of something special like that? Like, we all know how great Lee Humphrey was as a player, right? But let's not forget, he still holds the record for most three-pointers ever in the NCAA tournament. That's the measurable when you talk about a guy like Lee Humphrey. And he was just a member of the cast for those teams.
Yeah, one of the biggest roars you would hear if he walked in the building right now is Chris Joseph, because he hit one shot.
Yes, falling out of bounds in the corner. I mean, because it was a moment, right? And and we all love the music that goes along with those games and everything else. And I can feel the excitement around town, Pat. I think that, like the other night, I think, that section kind of behind the Gators bench that is attached to that new club area.
Yeah.
I want to say I heard that one of those tickets for Tuesday night's game against Oklahoma was going for like $1,200.
Oh.
And so there's a demand and there's an excitement, and we all love when the Gators represent us, right? And they're doing it pretty well right now.
Yeah. We're going to get to yes, nowhere, maybe just a minute. I did want to ask you one football question. They're talking about the seeding. They've got to be a unanimous vote for it to go through reseeding the football teams. And I'm like, just get it right. I mean, it should be just 1 through 12. 1 through 12. That's it.
Yes. I don't know what's so difficult about this. I know it's political in some sense. I know there's some rub right now with the other conferences with regard to basically the SEC and the Big Ten are driving the car, and whatever they want to do is eventually what's going to happen. So I'm with you. Get it right. And the other thing that I'm intrigued about is are we going to 9 games in conference play in the SEC? That's the other thing that I kind of want to see develop here in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think that if they get this right, that the memorandum of understanding for next year, that everybody signed, is so complicated. I mean, remember when I took this Florida journalism law course at the University of Florida from Joanne Smith. Okay. And I'm like, I'm never going to use this stuff. And now I'm like, why didn't I take that more seriously?
I know. I don't know about at Florida, but where I went to Southern Illinois, that was the hardest class in the major.
Oh, it was.
Media law. And we all remember who taught it. Like in this case, it was Mike Starr for me. Like if you ask me about any other course in the curriculum, I don't know who taught me what. I don't even know if I can remember the names, but I remember media law was the one. That was the separator, if you will.
It was very hard. That was like being in school. The other stuff, I'm writing stories. That's what I do. So it's great. All right, let's play yes, no way, or maybe with the great Sean Kelley, of course, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, as our Zoom line is. Big Mills Cheesesteak is where you want to go and say you will listen to this podcast and you get free fries with your order. Okay, number 1 on yes, no way, or maybe, you would bet the over on now I'm setting this line for teams that get in from the SEC at 11.5. You would bet the over.
Yes.
See,
I'm not allowed to gamble. But
I know, I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed by my wife, but
that's just as strong as my employer. I can tell you that. Yes.
But I think they're going to get 11. I think I'm not sure Georgia's going to get in. I don't think Arkansas is going to get in. I think at some point there's going to be SEC fatigue. We'll see. But at one point Leonardo had 14 in. I
don't think it's 14. I'll take the over in this case if it's set at 11.5. Yeah.
Well, I'm setting it there. So
okay.
I don't know if anybody else has said it. All right, number 2 on yes, no, where, may or maybe for Sean Kelley. You'll take Auburn and Duke versus the field in the NCAA tournament.
The answer would be no.
Okay, because the tournament is crazy.
The tournament is crazy, and there's a certain team that you didn't mention that I work for that I think has a legit shot. What I don't want to
Auburn
see.
lost to Yale last year,
Yes, no, but that's the point.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is this: we watched the bracketology come out now, Pat, and we'll see how close Joe Leonardo gets to this thing. But I'd like to avoid Duke if I can for a while. The Cooper Flag is the real deal. He is really, really special. I kind of like to avoid them until the last minute. Everybody else, I'm not so sure I'm worried about facing head to head. Yeah. And even Duke is beatable. So yeah.
Yeah, but we talk about this before. The whistles, you never know. So all of a sudden, all the guys get in foul trouble, or the guards are all in foul trouble because they're calling everything. And you're used to playing some way, and next thing you know, you're in a hole. But that's the way it goes. The tournament is different from everything else we experience.
Yes.
All right. Finally, on yes, no, where, maybe, Sean Kelley, number 3, you are looking forward to getting some real food this week. And
just different food, shall we say. There's a good bet that crawfish is in my future, among some other things that a cardiologist would rather me not tell you about. But yes, I'll go over. I'm actually excited. I'm gonna have dinner with my daughter and son-in-law tomorrow night, and then we play at 6 Eastern, so 5 Central on Saturday before coming home. But between dinner and lunch on Saturday, I'll get a little bit of a fix, shall we say. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Sean, as always, man, love talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you over there at the ball yard, and we'll see you at the baseball yard too as well.
Yes,
so,
both.
Appreciate you so much. All right, we'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Make plans for Thursday, February 27th to be at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill to raise a glass to our Elijah Craig single barrel launch party. Be a part of an exclusive evening as we unveil our 9-year-old uncut Elijah Craig single barrel. Only bottled at 121.1 proof. Enjoy indulgent bourbon-inspired bites served in a casual mingle-style setting with a Spurrier's twist. Your ticket includes one exclusive bottle of Spurrier's Elijah Craig single barrel, signed by Steve Spurrier himself.
It's going to be a great night. Get your tickets at spurriers.com.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging, and of course coming to you from Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studio. We appreciate all of our great sponsors. In fact, I'm going on with Jeffrey Saturday on his show on Sky. He has a show on there, so I'm going on with him. He asked me to come on. I'm always happy to do it because he's a good man. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And of course, Hesser and Kipke is a place to go if you need any help with your family law or workers' compensation issues. 352-339-9920 is the number to call, and www.hklawfl.com is the website for Hesser and Kipke. They get the job done. Let's go to number 1, and that is, so there was meetings yesterday with Greg Sankey and Tony Battiti, who is a Big Ten commissioner, and they're trying to hammer this thing out so they can get the seating right. The trouble is you need a unanimous vote. And so there's the 10 conferences and Notre Dame, and it's all got to be unanimous. Now, Notre Dame's going to go with what they want, but I don't know that, again, if you're at Boise State, you're saying, hey, vote no on that. We liked having a bye. We liked being considered the 4th best team in the country, but they're not the 4th best team in the country. And what they need to do is just like we said earlier, go 1 through 12, get somebody's going to be mad because they're 13th. That's okay. And just set it up better. I mean, there's ways to do this. And the funny thing is they're working on this really hard for this year, but next year is going to be totally different, man. Everything's going to be different next year. 2026 is going to be a playoff unlike anything you've ever seen. Could be 14, could be 16. There's no telling where they're going to be playing. They may be playing on the moon, but they are going after everything really hard. But they're trying to get one more year straightened out, and because mainly what they're trying to do is say, hey, we need to have everything in place for 2026 when we get even more expansion. Anyway, that's the way it's going, and we'll see what happens. There's more meetings coming up, I think next week, and then I think in April they're going to have. That's when all the money is going to come in. That's when all the court challenges and everything are going to be over with this money that's coming in. So I don't know. It's just look, like we said earlier, you better have done good in media law, or you're going to be in trouble covering this. And I did pass. I think I got a C. I might have gotten a B. I know I passed. I didn't get any D's, so I was pretty good. Anyway, hey, I graduated. All right, number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Dennis Gates did something unusual last night, and it's unusual, especially for him, and somebody apparently got to him. But of course, he's the coach at Missouri, the basketball coach. What a team year they're having. In fact, it was funny. I saw this headline, says, it's time to start paying attention to Mizzou. Hey, Gator fans have been paying attention to them for a long time because they're one of the few teams that beat Florida. And they went, well, maybe we aren't as good as we thought. And then as the year's gone on, they've gone, no, we are as good as we thought because Missouri's better than we thought. Anyway, the point of it is, last night they beat the crap out of Alabama at home. And Dennis Gates earlier had gotten on the mic to say, storm the floor. This time he got on the mic and said, don't storm the floor. Don't storm the floor. Okay? Last time it was he let the other team get off. I think it was Kansas game when they did it. Yeah. But he was pretty much told if they storm the floor, it's going to cost us $500,000, and all that money goes directly to the team you just beat. You don't want to do that. And so common sense on this court storming, that seems strange. Maybe Dennis Gates has been listening to me. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is what is going on in Illinois. Of course, they're struggling a little bit. They've also got a flu outbreak. I don't know if it's COVID or flu or whatever. I mean, people get the flu, people get COVID. I've had it twice. It's not fun. It is not the flu. I can tell you that. It's a different thing, and I hope I don't get it again. Anyway, they're dealing with it. And so the other day there was they didn't have a handshake line when they lost to Purdue. I think it was, Purdue beat Illinois. And I was like, whoa, what's these coaches must not like each other. No, that's why they didn't do it. But I was thinking about it. I go, if you're playing basketball and you're breathing on somebody the entire game, handshakes aren't going to make any difference. But maybe they just took the precaution. But anyway, so they're dealing with that. And guess what they've got Saturday? We're going to go non-con because they have a bye week. So we're going to have a non-con game against Duke. Thanks for nothing with our team that's decimated by the flu. I'm going to get to it a little bit in the Swamp Games of the Week. It is one of the games of the week, but I don't know if it's one I want to watch because I don't know what they've got left. All right, let's get to our new old sponsor right now, and that is the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Of course, they've been with us, during football seasons, but they wanted to come on now. They want to hit it hard this month and next month because they've got an unbelievable speaker group lined up, and they want to get people to join. And they're going to offer a special for $250. You can come for the first 3 meetings. Now, here's who's speaking in the first 3 meetings. Me and all of them. I give a little scouting report, okay. But that's not why you want to come. Billy Napier in the first one, Laura Rutledge in the second one, Billy Donovan in the third. So you get 2 Billies and a Laura. You can't beat that. Nobody's going to have better speakers than that. So and I've been helping them, trying to work hard. I didn't help them with either one of them. but I've been helping them. I can tell you that Kevin Carter is going to come speak, that Alex Brown is going to come speak. I think Zach Pillar is going to come speak. That's going to be fun. Believe me. Noah Brindise. I mean, they're bringing in some big time speakers. So want to give them a major plug, and they'll be advertising with us. And if you want to become a member, membership at GainesvilleQuarterback.org or GainesvilleClub.org. It's something like that. QBClub.org. There you go. Any of those you'll get through to them, or just call Joe White or Mike Floyd, or call me. I can help you out with it. The thing is, to go see Billy, you have to be a member. So to go to the Billy Donovan one, you'll have to be a member of the Quarterback Club. So you can get in here $250. Then you get to go see Laura Rutledge. Then you get to go see Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan. All right, that is our Gainesville Quarterback Club. What do we call that? Plug. That we appreciate them so much. Believe me, they're a big part of my life. All right, let's go on. Speaking of big parts of my life, the BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Of course, BMI TeleMed, your medical weight loss experts, achieve and maintain. We'll be dealing with that in March. And I need it because in March tends to be a lot of beer drink because you're watching a lot of games. I've been having foot problems, so I've been struggling with that myself, but looking forward to it. But we do appreciate BMI TeleMed and our smart move of the week. And here it was, because I've been noticing this, how Florida's guards were getting high up. We mentioned this one week. They played 152 minutes in one game, the three of them. And in this game, they got out to that big lead at halftime, and I will say, Todd, smart move, getting all those guys a lot of rest. I think Elijah Martin only played like 27 minutes. I mean, you got two of those guys are banged up, right? Martin and Clayton have been hurt. So yeah, get them some rest. I mean, as long as you've got Clavchar, you've got Aberdeen, they're okay in there, they're fine. So that was a smart move of the week, was getting some rest. Because look, it's going to be a dogfight going forward. Don't forget, after this LSU game, and again, like I've just stated, I'm worried about LSU. You got to go to Georgia. Georgia's fighting to get into the tournament. Stegman's a tough place to play. Then you've got Alabama, you've got Texas A&M, and you've got Ole Miss to finish the season. Not easy. So, but again, nothing's been easy this year. But they'll be the good thing is, the smart move of the week was that Billy got those guys some rest, because I know that he likes to win by a lot, because he knows it matters. Win by 30, he's always saying, but it does matter with your net ranking. So that's one reason he likes to leave guys in. But in this case, smart move. All right, let's get to our Leonardo's of Millhopper Quick Pick. We did hear from our winner. I will be getting it out to him as soon as I get to it. Dealing with a lot of stuff here, man. No, but we'll put it in the mail probably today. So he was our winner from last week. Here's our first qualifier, our Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Pick. And that is, does Florida sweep both? Think about that now. Baseball and softball. So it's a yes or no question, right? Do they sweep both? They lose one of the games, they're out. But they got Dayton in for the baseball 3. The women are playing in this tournament in Tempe. I don't think any of the teams are ranked that are playing in it. I'm not trying to influence you. The easy answer, you have to go 8-0. Or you could go 7-1 and lose. So I thought it would be interesting. We're trying to keep it spiced up. All right. Let us move along to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Plenty of choices to pick from, but I went with Julian Smith. Julian Smith is a swimmer and is doing really well. Not only that, he just won the SEC 200 individual medley. First time since 19 that Gator has won that. And again, the swimming is going on during all week. If you can find it somewhere, you're better than I think it might be on the SEC network, but usually what they do is they tape it and they run it later. So, but anyway, We'll keep track of how Florida's doing. I think they were second men, third, and women last I saw. But Julian Smith is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week for his performance in the 200 individual medley. In fact, I think it was like the fastest time of the year. Pool record, SEC record, I think, too. They set a lot of records, so good for them. Let's go to the Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Well, the sponge of the week for me, Gallo Car Wash, is Florida's defensive performance, because in that game, they only had 6 turnovers, which is amazing. They had 1 in the first half, and they had 6 steals. So you have 6 steals, and you only have 6 turnovers, and you have 13 assists. You're being spongy, man. You are sponging up everything. You're soaking it all up like you do at Gallo Car Wash. That's a place to go to get your car washed and treated like you deserve to treat your car. Gallo Car Wash. Okay, let us move along to this, that, and the other. It is brought to you by our great friends at Ballyhoo Grill, at Ironwood Golf Course, and of course at Dart Shackow Insurance. We appreciate all of them. This is that we were screaming for a playoff, right? Remember that? We were screaming for a playoff. In fact, was it Dan Wolken, or I always get these guys mixed up, or is it Wetzel that wrote the book Death to the BCS, or maybe that was Stuart Mandel? No, I can't remember who wrote it. Anyway, it was a book, Death to the BCS. The BCS came along. We had 2 teams playing. Nobody liked it. All right, we're screaming for a playoff. All right, that was, hey, we got a playoff. We're screaming about that. We're screaming because you can't get it right. 4. We don't want no stinking 4. Finally get to 4. What do? We scream and yell. We want more. So they give us more, and that is the other. They give us 12. They're talking about going to 14 or 16, and we're still screaming. You're seeding it wrong. No buys. Don't let them play here. Blah, 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 blah. Boise State doesn't belong in there. Well, we like to scream. We like to scream, and we like to make a lot of noise, and we hope somebody hears us. But, hey, look, they're doing the best they can. That's the thing. You have to understand, anything that happens in the NCAA is being controlled by the Big Ten and the SEC. But they have to have approval. Like, they have to have a unanimous vote on this thing if they want to make the seeding changes. Eventually, it's going to be just run by the SEC and the Big Ten. They're going to have control over everything, and they're going to let you know how many teams they want in. We've decided on 6 this year, but that's the way it's going to work. It is, and it's just the way it's going to work. Get ready for it. All right. That is our this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ballyhoo, by Ironwood Golf Course, and by Dar Shackow Insurance. I think we got everything in except the swamp games of the weekend. We got a lot of them to get to, mostly, well, all basketball, really, pretty much. And I'll get to that in a minute. Saturday's game against LSU is a 6 o'clock game. It's on the SEC network. Also, it's a really good game that day, Tennessee at A&M. It's on at noon on ESPN. That's a good one. Also, you have Kentucky at Alabama at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Don't have 2 TVs. You don't have any TVs. I say it over and over again. And then Duke, Illinois is at 8 o'clock on Fox. If you want to watch that bloodletting. It is at Illinois, so maybe they'll get fired up and come and play. I just want to see how much Cooper Flagg sweats. He's the sweatingest player I've seen since Shaq. Let's get to some baseball. Baseball's playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6:30, 4, and 12. I think some of those games are on the plus. Softball is playing 2 of its games on the plus. One of them against Arizona State, 3:15 on Friday. So I would guess that means no. Well, maybe it doesn't. Radio. And then 8 o'clock on Saturday against Grand Canyon. For some reason, that's on TV. It's on the plus, so I just don't want to get anybody. I don't think any of the baseball is on the plus. It must be, though. It's got to be on something, because I watch every game. That's my goal in life. Although I couldn't watch the Jacksonville game. I can't remember why. else was going on. All right, let's Elliot, basketball was going on. Okay, it's time for our Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
Okay, it is brought to you by Hugh Cain Allstate, as you know. Well, this is a great play. Louisville playing Duke in women's basketball. They come out for the start of the second half, and they go on purpose to the wrong end of the court, and they get a free layup because that is a Mayhem moment when you get free points, man. I think they still lost, so. But no, Louisville's good, so they probably won. But that's a heck of a play. I've never seen that one before, and that is your Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. Okay, we got through it, man. Hey, the garbage men are here, so they're always come Thursday, right about as we finish up the podcast. And we are done. We appreciate Sean Kelley for being on. Look forward to Coach Spurrier on Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley for the great Zach Rothrock. We are deep, we are way back, and we are out of here.